moments that are completely unexpected. You know, I like to feel if I'm watching something or reading something or doing something, I like to feel like this is happening now, this is happening for the first time. Anything could happen. And that's what you feel like when you experience the twist in this story. I think as a reader, as a viewer, as a participant.
That's exciting.
It's the element of the unknown.
Great. And did you notice what on the set that everybody sort of deferred to you a little bit, that you you know, that you got along well with the younger actors, Casey, and with, you know, the two girls and everything, and that everybody was like a camaraderie group, and that everybody was like really just, really sort of, and their time off sort of almost adjusting styles to each other?
I think there was a prevailing environment on the set and off the set that starts at the top with the producers, the director, sometimes the writer. In this case, well, it was one and the same to a degree, and the lead actor. And if they set the tone, then everybody else kind of falls into that. It does help to be a character from the very first day of shooting, as opposed to the guy that comes to the new school and has to become accepted and acquainted. So I was there from the beginning, and that helped tremendously.
And straight through to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I think people were able to really count on you for that sort of stability and that balance as well. And what did you think about the sexuality in the film? Because it was really unusual that a guy in a small town like this was exploring his sort of sadomasochistic tendencies, in a way, your deputy sheriff. And the two girls who were there that he was sort of playing with was, who was it, Kate Hudson and Jessica Alba?
One is a girl, again, like the boy, who I've known since she was a child and have known her family and believe that she is just one of the finest, I even say so, she's just about one of the finest little ladies in town, you know. And the other person,
and that's played by
Kate Hudson. And the other woman, who is a woman of ill repute, as they were known at that period in time. You know, she was a woman of the world's oldest profession.
And that's played by?
That's played by Jessica Alba.
And
I think that's kind of a twist, the characters that they're playing, and that they could adapt to them as well as they did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually get to work with them.
To me, it was kind of interesting because you've got a 50s movie, but yet because we're shooting it in the year 2009, the director was actually able to expose more truthfulness. So rather than doing the postman always rings twice,
right,
he actually peeled it back.
We're not restricted by the Hays Code, and you can go as far as you want to go. But I think, more importantly, I think what happens is you tell a story from a 2009 consciousness, mm-hmm, about a 1950 period piece. So you're true to the period, you're true to the story as written, but you're telling it from a consciousness that we have evolved to. So you are more informed. We all are. We didn't know a lot of things back then.
And we were free to do...
I think the 50s were the most repressed time in the history of our civilization. You know, it was by design. It was marketed that way. If you remember the kind of brasiers and falsies and the sexual oppression, repression, mm-hmm, that was being drilled into us. I don't think people really lived that way, but I think everything was done on the sneak. Maybe it's like Woody Allen says, you only like sex when it's dirty. And I think maybe there was something about that in the story of those times and the way that people pretended to live their lives.
Yeah, because the Casey Affleck story in the movie, he's having a grand old time, isn't he?
Yeah, he pretty much does as he chooses.
Yeah. I mean, he's living in this house and he's like not too many obligation, and all he has to do is say howdy doody all the time. And he's got like the girl next door who he's bending towards his interests sexually, and the town prostitute who's creating a whole new world for him. And that's probably the tinderbox of it, isn't it? The sexuality of that character being triggered by his experimenting, really.
Yeah, I think that's why I was drawn to this kind of Pulp Fiction when I discovered it at an early age, like the Amboy Dukes and Mickey Spillane's I, the Jury, and then people like Jim Thompson, because we were able to read about things that we couldn't talk about.
That's exciting. And what was it like working with Casey?
You know, I had expectations of Casey being a weird guy. I mean, I'd seen him in Gone Baby Gone. I'd seen him in Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Bob Ford. I thought he was phenomenal in that movie. And I thought he was very authentic in Gone Baby Gone, because I know Boston and the part of Boston that that's about. And then I also know his relationship with Joaquin Phoenix. And I thought, okay, here's a guy, like some actors I've known, that you're never going to talk to him on the set other than through the dialogue itself. And in the beginning, he was a wise ass, and he would test us, you know. He would say things off the wall just to get a reaction from us. And I think Simon was kind of like, you know, into his Australian, well, goddamn, you know, you don't talk to a guy from the bush like that. We don't take that kind of shit, you know.
Simon Baker.
Simon Baker, yeah. And then, you know, if you gave it back to Casey, it's a Boston thing. It's a wise-ass Boston thing. Or probably a lot of towns like that. So if you gave it back, you know, then you could become chums. You could become pals.
Right, a Gran Torino thing.
And you do the same thing to Michael, and by that time Michael already knew enough to slough it off, you know. But in the end, he is a real mensch of a guy. He takes care of people. He's very caring, sensitive. He's got a responsible kind of caring thing. His responsibility as a lead actor, he set a tone for people, you know, that we were in good hands. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you guys were in like 108-degree weather.
Yeah,
nobody
and he never
complained.
bitched about that.
Nobody did.
No temperament, no diva kind of jive, you know.
No.
So I grew to like him a lot. I think we'll be good friends, and I think maybe as an actor, he's best in a kind of passive-aggressive kind of character role. You know, he's really...
Secret brewing.
Yeah, it's kind of a Jimmy Dean kind of thing, you know?
He's got a lot of the Jimmy Dean, especially when you poke that hat back on his head.
He should do East of Eden, you know?
There's no question. We were actually studying East of Eden behind the scenes while we were shooting.
Yeah.
Because there are some great camera things happening in that too. But the angst of the character and the angst of this character, who's obviously hurting from way back without a mother image or without a mother character, he was very, very much an East of Eden type character. And I think if you had to say what Casey was most like, what would you say? Which actor?
Well, pretty much like Dean, as I remember him. Some Montgomery Clift, who was always a tormented soul in real life. And Casey had to go there as a character. That couldn't have been a joyful way to, you know, that's all part of your unconscious when you're playing that kind of a role. You don't just, you don't chuck it off at night. You go to bed with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. What I really liked about it was that, yes, it was a complex role, but it was deeply engraved in a significant script.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, well, we missed that, we'll get it on the next one.
It's really true to the book.
Yeah, deeply engraved, and Casey had the opportunity, I think, to nail it and to leave out backstory, not to leave everything got in. The backstory that's in there is verbally.
Right.
But I think that this is a thing you can talk about and say, how...
I think it could be haunting. You can excise this as you've... You know what it affected me like? It affected me like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It wasn't like Psycho, which was obvious and which you knew was coming, you know, and it was set up and you knew what to expect. This is more the heart of darkness. You know, this is in our heart of darkness. We're going to places we don't know about, and it's a mind fucker is what it is, really. Go to a place you don't expect to go, and it starts messing with your nerve endings. And I could feel that as the scenes were being played out, because this is the darkest place of who we are. And if everybody acted out their real impulse, it could get real scary.
It's true. Well, thank you. Thanks, Tom. Thanks so much. So do you think that you achieved what you set out to achieve in the character?
I think more because I think direction and other actors allowed for us to go to places that weren't on the page. You know, they were, and sometimes the negative space, it doesn't have to be in the spoken word, but within the negative space where you don't have to say anything, but there's subtext going on. There's a life going on. There's real behavior. And so those are things that you can never prepare for. You just hope you'll find them when you get there.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tom. Thank you. Really looking forward to seeing the movie.
Yeah, me too.
It's going to be exciting. Thanks. Thanks. That was good. Because I like to just do it like for all time's sake,
Yeah.
not just in little bites. But I'm so glad you did the twist thing, because I was dying for someone to go like almost like, you know.
Well, you don't really
Because the
know
twist
what...
thing is great, and you can't tell it.
You don't know what you think until you start talking about it, because you don't talk about it to anybody else. You don't really
We're not
talk
going to be able to.
No.
Yeah, but I do want it to be part of the press kit where it's like, but the twist. You
Well,
know,
in the
I kind
aftermath,
of, I like
the
that.
added features, you know, some of my best stuff that was on the floor got put back into the DVDs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that this one, I mean, I always said I don't mind if this is a 2-hour movie, so I'm not going to be on the side of like cutting it short.
Right.
I
Right.
really mean that. Really wanted to just last into, I mean, to me it's sort of like a Chinatown where you really get into the sexuality, or like
That was-
or even like, you
that was
know,
great.
carnal knowledge,
Yeah.
where you're trying to really understand something about.
Well, how about A Place in the Sun, you know, an American
Oh,
tragedy?
yeah.
It's the same, there's the repressed part of that, you know?
Yeah, they were getting into it, you know, with Liz Taylor and
Yeah.
some old movies with like, I
Yeah.
remember there was one where Brandon was whipping the horse until it
Oh,
died.
yeah. That,
It was like a general.
What was that? Oh man, what's the name of that?
Oh, the one he directed?
No, where he's whipping the horse.
The horse. I don't know the name of that one. I only saw it once with Liz Taylor, and it was
It was
just, he was
wild.
out there as a general in Korea or something, and he goes